Hello and welcome to Darker Days Radio, episode number 40. I'm, of course, your host, Mike, and tonight I'm joined by Chris.
Hello. Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. And, of course, we've got, returning to the show for the second time, Dave Brookshaw.
Hello. Woo. Hey.
Hey, what's up, Dave? And, of course, tonight we were expecting to have David Hill, but he's feeling a bit under the weather. So, let's all wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully get him on the show soon.
I think he's just researching a progenitor's book. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm just ticked off that I spent all this time studying up on the New World Order regarding Mage the Ascension, and he's not here.
I know.
So I'll save my notes, and we'll use them in the future, because that's definitely going to be something really awesome to talk about.
Yeah.
Cool, so let's just jump on over to the mailbag segment, and talk about all the cool feedback we've gotten since Darker Days 39. Tim Moore sent us some cool stuff about the Toynbee tiles. Specifically, he linked us to a documentary. This is actually a really bizarre phenomenon that's been occurring. Started off in Philadelphia, and they were finding these tiles imprinted into the asphalt of the roads. The tiles would typically say, Toynbee idea in movie 2001, Resurrected Dead on planet Jupiter. Yeah, pretty funky stuff. We'll definitely remember this one, and it may be useful in a future segment for story hooks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Chris, you reached out to Eric over at Gamers Table, and
yeah, I mean, it was through me doing a typical kind of like just searching around, seeing what other podcasts or what people are doing for World of Darkness stuff, and so they recently did a podcast talking about Werewolf 20, obviously, and so basically he's looking to be running his own Hunter the Vigil game, and he's also hoping to address the kind of the way some of his fellow podcasters and thus gamers there don't want to delve into New World Darkness because shock horror, it's new and scary. So I'm hoping Eric has taken our feedback and will get back to us about how his Hunter game gets on, because that'd be really cool to hear.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be Hunter the Vigil.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we also got quite a few questions for David Hill and Dave Brookshaw. A lot of good stuff, which we'll be covering later on in the episode. So thank you, everyone, for sending that stuff in. Rodrigo, who is a White Wolf fan on Twitter, sent us kind of his what-if setting for Vampire the Masquerade, which kind of updates the social structure of Vampire the Dark Ages and brings it up to the modern knights. And he definitely had the most interesting take on the Cappadocians and the Modern Knights that I've seen, and I might actually want to use that in a game sometime. Basically what he did was he made the Cappadocians not just a clan, but this collection of bloodlines in the Modern Knights, which I thought was a really cool idea, bringing together the Samidi, the Giovanni, the Cappadocians, and also the Alamians, and making them this kind of broader group. And the reason why the Giovanni were unable to diablerize all the Cappadocians and destroy them was that the Feast of Folly never happened. The Feast of Folly was this event in the Cappadocian history where Cappadocius, the antediluvian, invited all the Cappadocian clan members that were not focused on the Road of Bones, brought them all into one location and then locked them essentially in a crypt, kind of reducing the number of the clan. Pretty cool stuff, and definitely would like to see more on that.
What else have we had? We've had more questions via Facebook. So we've had Scott and Paul also give us some questions for David and David Hill. So obviously we will be making use of those. We actually had quite a lot of activity on Facebook recently, which is good to see. Yeah, I'm thinking of reaching out onto posting stuff on Tumblr. I think more artwork, because I know on Path Publishing also has a Tumblr for artwork and inspirational things, and it seems like there's a bunch of Changeling the Lost fans out there. So I'm gonna, tap that resource and really, reach out to those people. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yep, definitely. And then also on our Posters page, shout-outs to Ken T, Spiffy Biffy, Malleus, and... Oh, and of course, Lord Treeboy, which has that's a pretty crazy name.
Lord Treeboy is Chris from my gaming group back when I was living in Leamington before I moved over to Germany. If people go and read the actual play stuff for Changeling, that's I think it's either linked on my own posters. He played the character Stitches, who was a wizened Chirurgeon.
Good stuff. And let's get some news. So, Left-Handed Path is out, or...
Left hand.
Sorry, I was just about to correct myself on that.
When we wrote it, all the way through writing it, all the way through to sending it, the final version of it, off and getting paid, it was called Left-Handed Path. Me and Malcolm found out that they changed the name when we first saw the cover.
Ah.
So it's a very late thing, which is why all the... I actually prefer left hand. Those two letters, the number of times it's repeated in the book, those two letters might make up a whole page. It's a much better title, but that's why it was Left-Handed Path on the what's going to come from Onyx Path announcements, and so on. And then when the book finally came out, the title had changed. And it's taking a while for the traction to go in. Yeah. But it's out. It's out.
It's out. And it's excellent.
Go buy it. Go.
Everyone go buy it. My
Yes.
reviews are preposterous. I've read it pretty much page to page because I read everything I get review copies for. So yeah, I would say it's one of the most essential Mage books you can grab hold of because it has that amount of antagonists in there, and it really adds to how you can use just general other mages as antagonists, because, Left Hand Path doesn't cover the Tremere and the Scalesti, but it just covers those who go, screw the rules, I'm not going to follow them, I'm not going to follow your Concilium, and really talks about that. So it's a really great read. And yeah, the Tremere, what bastards.
Yeah, the Tremere. Yeah.
Cool. And of course, the W20 Kickstarter was wildly successful. M20's been announced, and the Mummy Kickstarter is on the horizon.
Yeah, my piggy bank fund for M20 is starting now, so I will be buying some ridiculous copy of that when we can actually get the Kickstarter. Do we have a date for when Mummy Kickstarter is expected? I know these are moving things, but is it sometime early?
Mummy is cursed.
Yeah.
Mummy is cursed.
Oh yeah, Mummy is cursed. Yeah.
It's the Kickstarter should have been live already. They've already planned out what the tiers were going to be, and Rich said that he was clearing the Kickstarter's plans with Kickstarter themselves a while back on the Monday blogs. Yeah, it's just that Mummy has had a hell of a time getting out to print.
It seems like a lot of stuff with Onyx Path. It's like Rich is ready to go. He's like, yeah, let's do this. And then it's like a little bit of lag time. And then it finally gets out.
You're just noticing it now. It's more obvious with Onyx Path because Rich is a lot more open about the delays that always used to happen. I mean, there was a classic World of Darkness book that the guys at White Wolf, as was, they had to barricade the car park with their cars to prevent the FedEx truck from leaving before the before the books had come off the press, so that they could hand it over.
Nice.
It's, put it this way: would you rather Mummy be 4 months late, or would you rather it end up with editing issues that require it to be reissued later on?
Hey, I have no issue with the delays. I was just pointing it out. Just saying what I noticed. I don't want to have Geist.
I'm here ready to start running and podcasting my Mummy Chronicle, and every Monday I turn up and I go to my gaming group, and they just, give me the look and say, like, is Mummy out yet? Oh, Mummy is not out yet. So, yeah, I feel everybody's pain.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
It'll turn up when it turns up, and it'll be great.
It will be awesome.
Yeah.
When I was writing it, I was thinking to myself, this is actually my perfect NWoD game. It's this fits with me, my style of running games far better than Mage does, even.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it will come out, and no doubt we'll be back.
Awesome. Sounds good. And then very important news with the World of Darkness MMO. So WoDnews.net reports that they found out that the World of Darkness game engine has actually split off from the main Eve Arcana engine. It's now solely being developed by the Atlanta office. So that kind of explains some of the delays that have been occurring with the MMO. Yeah.
I think talking to people that were in the industry that I know, it's they say it's an understandable thing, because obviously you've got what Arcana did for Eve. You met there's limitations, and when you want to start doing things with like people jumping from building to building, you're going to run into these limitations in a base kind of engine, and you're going to have to either start grokking it to go beyond the original. So again, these things happen, and just be thankful it's still being worked on.
Yep.
Yeah. What else is out?
God Machine.
God Machine Chronicle Anthology, which I've been reading on the bus to work and on the way back. So I think I've read the first 3 stories after the basic fiction that appeared originally in the World of Darkness core book. So there's some really neat ideas in there. Really quite creepy. So I'm looking forward to getting further into that collection. And of course, we've already kind of announced this, didn't we, Mike? The last really main part of the news was, of course, Mage 20th anniversary, which is nice to hear confirmed. So yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be huge. The internet is going to explode. They really need to find a way to tap into the energy of Mage Flame Wars, and they can just power the world.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, definitely exciting. I contributed or kicked in for the W20 Kickstarter, and I was kind of on the fence about it. I mean, you can see on Posterous, I was like, I don't know, it seems a little pricey. There's a bit of an increase in price over the V20 core book, but with all of the Kickstarter stretch goals and extra rewards, it really became worthwhile. What do we got? We've got the Wild West update. I think there's a cookbook that's going to be coming out.
Yeah, the cookbook. And no, that's not a joke.
No, it's serious.
Really writing a cookbook. Tribe White Howler.
Yes, that's going to be really thrilling.
Yeah. A couple of other things. I just like the idea. I don't know if they sold enough of them to actually make it happen, but the heavy metal.
Oh, it's coming out.
It's happening, yeah.
Yep.
It makes me wonder what the hell the stretch goals could even be for Mage 20. I mean,
I don't know. I have a ridiculous pledge ready to go in for the essential one.
Oh yeah,
nice. What I'd like to see for M20 for a stretch goal would actually be an update for Dark Ages Mage, because that was a super cool book. But I know a lot of people have had issues with the system. I didn't personally when I ran it, but some people have said they have issues, and they kind of pointed them out. And I was like, well, You guys could have trouble with that.
I know guys who prefer it to Ascensions. They like Ascensions setting, but they prefer the Dark Ages Mage. What are the
The Pillars and Foundation?
Pillars and Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool system because it just integrates the paradigm into your actual like spellcasting mechanics. So it's really intuitive to figure out what you're doing. The issue is that it also becomes kind of limiting because of that, because the pillars are rather finite in what they can do.
Mm.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there'd be room for it in M20. I mean, I don't know. I'm not Phil, Jess, or Bill, but I don't know what they're intending. But I'd imagine that some of if there are any Sorcerer's Crusade only groups, then they'll probably get mentioned. But yeah, Dark Ages Mage. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it would be a great like PDF supplement that would work with it as a stretch goal. Cool. All right, and the other piece of news we have is that Chris, we finally have an award to give out, or a prize.
I've been sat on it for a while. We've just been waiting for people to want it. It's the haunted anthology of ghost stories that numerous White Wolf writers, Onyx Path writers, have written short stories for. So there's Jess Hartley and Chuck Windig have written for it. Written short stories in there. So we have a copy of that to give away.
Yes, and that's going to be going to Martin Krogh. So we'll send you a coupon link via email, and there you go. And we'd also like to mention that we're going to have some more prizes coming up. So as long as you send us some feedback to darkerdaysradio@gmail.com, send us some questions, suggestions, maybe submit something for the Forgotten Lore PDF supplement that we put out, a little magazine, you'll be in the running for a prize in the near future.
And I think it's important to say that if they want bigger prizes, of course, they should, if they buy anything via Drive-Thru RPG, they should make use of our affiliate ID, because that just means we get a bit of gamer credit and we can give out more prizes, which is never a bad thing.
Indeed, indeed. So, without further ado, I think it's time to move over to the secret frequency.
It's under the stairs. I want my mom.
So, Chris, what do you have for us tonight?
Oh, tonight we have a little thing which has been given to us by Steve, who, that's the same Steve from the Darker Days Darkling on Dark Ages, and has been also co-hosting with me for the Chronicle Design series. And he has given us, as our secret frequency, the city, or ghost city, of Fengdu, which is located in China. So, a bit of history of Fengdu. Fengdu is located on the Ming Mountain on the northern bank of the Yangtze River in Fengdu County, and is known to the Chinese as the Ghost City. It is nearly 2,000 years old and combines the cultures of Confucianism, Taoism and Buddhism, and it can, in particular, of course, focuses on the mystique of ghosts from all those three cultures. Many famous literary works like Journey to the West, The Apotheosis of Heroes, and Strange Tales of a Lonely Studio contain references to Fengdu. It got its name as the Ghost City in the Eastern Han Dynasty. Two officials from the imperial court, Ying Changzheng and Wang Fangping, or Wang Fangping, because it's a single word there, decided to come to Ming Mountain to practice Taoist teachings. Through self-cultivation, they became immortals. Combining their surnames produces the term Ying Wang, meaning King of Hell. Later during the Tang Dynasty, the stupendous temple was erected on Ming Mountain, depicting life in hell. It displays demonic images and torture devices, and reflects the notion that good people will be treated well in the afterlife, and that bad people will obviously be punished. In the Chinese vision of hell, of the afterlife, the dead must undergo 3 major tests to enter the underworld. These tests are taken at 3 locations: Nothing to be Done Bridge, Ghost Torturing Pass, and the Jiangzi, which is the Son of Heaven Palace. These 3 locations are major attractions in this ghost city. Let's talk a little bit about the Nothing to be Done Bridge. This was built during the Ming Dynasty and connects the netherworld to the real world, and is a testing point for good and evil. The bridge is composed of 3 identical stone arches, and the middle arch is used for testing people. There are different protocols for crossing the bridge depending upon gender, age, and marital status. Below the bridge there are square-shaped pools of water. Virtuous people pass over the bridge without obstacle. Villainous people will obviously fall into the pools below. The Ghost Torturing Pass is the second test to enter the netherworld. It is said that this is the place where the dead report to the Yama, the King of Hell, for judgment. In front of the structure there are 18 sculptures depicting ferocious demons. Each of these devils is quite lifelike according to descriptions of the ghost city. And finally there is the Jiangzi Palace. Having over 300 years history, the palace covers an area of nearly 2,908 square yards and is composed of a temple gate and the palace itself. The gate is an archway made of wood and is about 33 feet in height. It's the very centre of this entire ghost city that's located, and the temple on Ming Mountain. The third test that takes place here is, if you wish to evade hell, takes place at the large stone in front of the gate. The ghost will stand on the stone on 1 foot for 3 minutes. A good person will do this, while a bad person will not and is sent to hell. One other ghostly attraction in Fengdu is the Last Glance at Home Tower. This structure was built in 1985 and commemorates the site where spirits consigned to hell would take one last look at their families. We will also then link in the show notes to the original link we have, which has a host of images of the structures that depict scenes from hell and various strange statues, and yeah, it's an entire city devoted to the afterlife of from Chinese mythology and culture.
Mm-hmm. So Chris, one thing I was thinking about that you could use with the Fengdu Ghost City is obviously, when you have ghosts, when we think about Wraith a little bit. One of the interesting things that you didn't bring up in your little article is that they actually have been damming up the Yangtze River in this area, which has caused water levels to rise behind the dam and has cleared out some of the local villages and cities. So while there may have been a small actual Wraith and Ghost population at this almost tourist attraction, the recent displacement of living people and also Wraiths may cause a steep increase in the local dead population in the Shadowlands. So you can see a lot of conflict coming from that, and may actually be something interesting for hunters to investigate as the tourist attraction actually becomes really haunted, and people are experiencing many more strange experiences, that sort of thing. Another thing you can think about, or is interesting to kind of discuss, is really the architecture of the place and just how different it is between sort of a haunted place in Western culture and this very colorful city that exists, which is supposed to be haunted in Eastern culture. I'm not too knowledgeable of Chinese architecture, but it really just seems like there's many palaces and very colorful statues, which really surprised me.
I guess that's something as a relation, it's the whole idea of like offerings to the dead themselves. I mean, color can be obviously a representation of like life and vitality, so making the dead the City of the Dead look alive and real would hopefully reflect in the underworld to make it more accommodating to the people who have just died. That's my kind of take on it.
Another very cool thing is that there's this really creepy abandoned hotel on the mountain, which has a face carved into the or built into the side of the building. Definitely something to investigate. Might make a good haunt for wraiths again. Yeah, it's just weird, and could be something interesting to just throw into a game just to unsettle players a little bit.
Yeah, the fact that the hotel is referred to as the Devil Hotel as well is quite interesting. I mean, the thing is also to think that this ghost city could have, during, say, the height of any of the previous dynasties in China, may have actually acted as a very gateway to the underworld. And so, you know, many of these bridges or temples, if we think of like Geist maybe, could have been Avernian gates, allowing people to literally enter the underworld. And also a lot of these statues, I could imagine would be a great idea. Again, it's less of a thing in modern times, but maybe historically, you know, these statues did come to life as they were animated by spirits that were summoned from the underworld. We can't really talk about this City of the Dead without really considering the Eastern kindred from the Kaijin. I'm not so hot on that game line, so if anyone's got any ideas of how we could make use of Fengdu with relation to the Kaijin, I'm open to your suggestions, obviously.
Yeah. I think I read Kindred of the East once, maybe.
Yeah, I think. Well, we'll leave that one open if people.
Wait, no, Chris, I got it. Well, one thing you do with the Eastern Kindred, when many Eastern Kindreds start out, they are much more devilish, much more primal. Fengdu City could serve as inspiration for a sort of location where the Kuei-jin keep their newer, more impure Kuei-jin neonates and keep them there sort of as a I don't want to say internment camp. What's a good word for this?
Training camp.
It's a training camp, perhaps.
It's essentially it's a boot camp for newly embraced, newly turned, or they're not embraced. Sorry, that's the wrong term for them. But yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything in relation to other games. I mean, I think this is one of the things I find really easy with NWoD done. It's obviously, you know, I think pretty much every single group would have some interest in this city as a gateway or somewhere to learn something about the dead, because it strikes quite a different chord compared to, say, other ancient cultures that were more used to at our end of the world to do with the dead. Like if you compare these are literally this funerary city compared to, say, you know, the pyramids of Giza and, you know, the Egyptian kind of view of the dead. I don't know, maybe it might act as a bit of inspiration or something useful for Mummy when that finally comes out. I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, we do have a distinguished guest here, Dave. So what do you think about Fengdu? Do you have any ideas?
I was tripping on the Avernian Gate idea. The fact that most of those bridges to the underworld could actually be bridges to the underworld if you enter them in the right spirit.
I was going to say, linked to that, I think it acts as a good, just looking at the picture of the city, it maybe acts as a good visual cue for if you wanted to do a domain within the Geist.
Yeah.
So, and also some of the statues may make good ideas for Karaboy.
Yeah, or Chthonians.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can see how it would be useful for Mummy, that kind of thing.
Wait.
But you should probably wait for that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you can draw the parallels in mind between that kind of thing and other necropoli, which may or may not have statues of mythological beings dotted about the place.
Actually, yeah. Because that's something I know from the statues which occurring Egyptian death, or in Egyptian temples is I'm thinking the word, is it Ushabti? Is the term for those statues, and in a game which I know makes use of them, where these Ushabti also come to life, is the Tomb King's army in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. So you could kind of take that idea. You can mirror the same idea that these statues in Fengdu are literally the Chinese equivalent of Ushabti.
Also, if we're talking NWoD, I wonder what the shadow of that place looks like.
Freaking awful.
And are the spirits annoyed that it being turned into an amusement park?
Yeah, actually, how would the spirits relate to? Because I imagine the spirits could have been very orderly back during when the city was really in use to represent all this, but in modern times, and the idea the idea of like this is an orderly approach to death kind of ties in with maybe ideas that we'll hear in God Machine Chronicles, because the short stories I've been reading about how things about order and being part of this clockwork, supernatural entity, or things that are playing out, and so maybe this is another cog, literal. The city is a cog of death. Related to the God Machine. Okay. Mike, shall we end off with one last secret frequency thing, or shall we keep that one back for another time?
Oh, I think we could talk about it. It's definitely funky enough.
It's a short one that I found. So, rumour has it that there was a dragon known as the CI that was locked with chains in a well at, I'm going to try and pronounce this right, Beijing. When the Japanese occupied Beijing in 1937, a few of the soldiers pulled at the chains, only to be greeted with yellow liquid, the sound of wind and the smell of the sea. No one has ever pulled the chains all the way. In fact, it is said that the Line 5 subway construction was rerouted around the site so as not to disturb the dragon. How many different mythological ancient beings do we know that it could possibly be that's sleeping under Beijing? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. Yeah, I don't like the idea of it being a dragon, though. Let's steer away from that. Let's make it something cooler. All right.
It could easily be some sort of earthbound spirit for Werewolf the Forsaken. If you really want to go with something kind of crazy, you could maybe draw a parallel from this creature with, I think it's actually just called the Worm, in the back of Predators. And that worm creature in Predators is kind of like infects people, and so they kind of act in a very vampiric ghoul kind of manner. So this yellow liquid could, if it gets on people, taint them and cause foul mutation of them as they become spirit possessed and claimed. It could also be some sort of any other kind of earthbound creature. Could it be something Promethean? Could it be underneath there? Could it be some sort of giant Pandoran?
That would be a huge Pandoran.
It would be a huge Pandoran, yeah.
I don't even know how you go about making that sort of thing. Yeah, that'd be really weird for Promethean. So how... Because Pandorans are created from the disquiet effects. So how would a Promethean create something that huge? It would have to be like the entire throng, just all together doing something really messed up in Beijing, and that would create just this giant Pandoran.
Which they chained up, and whenever it's tampered with, leaks this yellow liquid, which could actually be one of the humours. I believe one of the humours is actually be coloured yellow.
It would be bile.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it actually works better as a Promethean idea.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay. I'm sold.
Cool. Dave, do you have any ideas for this strange creature?
Awakening-wise, I would make it one of the bound. One of the supernal gods that were not. One of the supernal gods that weren't particularly good for humanity as a species, and were imprisoned on Earth by the Exarchs during Atlantean times, and the Seers of the Throne are now ordered to make sure they don't escape, because they would rampage across the world and do variously terrible things. Yeah. It could be in terms of changeling, it could just be a dragon.
Oh yeah.
Which or not just a dragon, but it could be as straightforward as being a massive dragon, which has been chained up by iron chains or something.
Meteoric iron chains. It could be a true fae that's been trapped in that form.
Yeah. So who trapped it?
Yeah.
And
why would you want to release it?
Yeah. If you really didn't like Beijing, I guess.
Yeah, or you just want to collect yellow liquid. Okay, cool. I think that kind of ends the secret frequency. So, shall we move on then, Mike?
I think we shall, to our interview with the man of curses and arcana, Dave Brookshaw.
World of Darkness 2.0.
Right.
Hello again. Yeah.
Hello.
I promise not to go on as long this time.
Yeah. That was an epic podcast, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, David, you've had quite a few books out since we last spoke to you, I think. That you've worked on. Yes. I mean, we've had, obviously, we said, Left Hand Path is out for Mage, and you wrote some of the Blood Sorcery book for Vampire the Requiem. And, of course, you've been toiling away on the Accursed Book of Mummy. And we have a few questions related to all of these things.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I've missed on that list?
God Machine Anthology. If your story's in, you've read mine.
Oh, I've mostly not noticed. They don't have your name at the top of the story when I start. So, which one did you write in that one? Just so I can remember.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, the king is dead.
Oh right, yeah. That was really creepy and great. That was awesome.
Good. Yeah. We've just finished writing the actual God Machine Chronicles. The book. So, yeah, that's gone off to. That's being play tested, and it's gone to. Yes, we are actually play testing it, and it's gone off to be developed. But we've done all the scheduled drafts, and I'm really looking forward to it coming out.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I'm about to start a couple of other things for Onyx Path, which I can't say, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Man of mystery. Dave, how did you like writing that little short story? I think when we interviewed you last, you were saying, like, yeah, I really wish we were still doing fiction with White Wolf. And then, of course, we talked to Rich Thomas, and he said fiction's coming back in a big way, and it has. So, yeah, how was your experience with that?
Oh, that was great. Yeah, I think I wrote that in about 2 nights. I was quite ill when I wrote it, actually. Kind of pushing through. You can, if you know it's me that wrote it, you can tell that it's me that wrote it. If that makes any sense. I appear to have a fiction style that's starting to happen now that I've been contributing more short stories and the front opening fictions for books and the single pages for chapters and things. But I quite enjoyed doing that one. I hope people find it suitably creepy.
It's the anthology I think is going to be great because I think as from what I've already read of the short stories in there. They're all kind of really nice and subtle creepiness, and I think will be of a benefit for people that would like to run kind of stuff like Hunter and for Mortal games. And
that's what a Mortal
real
World
benefit.
of Darkness game. That's what a Mortal World of Darkness game is meant to be like.
Yeah.
That kind of low-key creepiness. When you start loading your car's trunk with rock salt shotgun shells and bones of blessed saints, that's when you've moved into Hunter the Vigil. But when you buy an Impala, it's time to buy Hunter the Vigil. But for that kind of normal person getting in over their head, feeling the strange and maybe catching a glimpse of the gears, then that's where we're going. And it's just really, really good to see the fiction lines come back, because it means that one day we might see the Forsaken novel released.
You mean the Forsaken novels? There were 2 in the works. Now, fun fact, I actually knew about this.
One
so
was
there was
fully written.
Yes, the Heart of Rage, I believe it was called, was fully written. I think it still might be on Amazon, like the pre-orders for it. There was that one, and then also unannounced, Jess Hartley was working on a Werewolf Forsaken novel, which she talked about on the Shadow in Essence chat way back in like 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, fun fact that I remember.
I'll have to ask Jess about that.
You will.
But we might see those come out. We might see novels for the other games, where they, just as the God Machine campaign chronicle book, the God Machine Chronicle book, not campaign book, chronicle book, terminology, David. The just as that's been presaged by this anthology, a whole bunch of people have been writing vampire short stories for.
The
run up for the next one, the Requiem Chronicle book.
Yeah, the Strix Chronicles. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be
or
great.
Or whatever Russell ends up calling it.
So, speaking about vampires, then, blood sorcery. Then, so there's been quite a lot of talk about blood sorcery online. So obviously, I've had a dabble with the rules, because I had a good hack of the Cult of Mithras that appeared in the Mythologies book, and kind of updated it to make use of the themes in the themes which are used to the mechanic which allows you that does the magic. One of the things that people seem to have said is like the blood sorcery rules are quite open to abuse. Do you think that's maybe people getting the wrong end of the stick and missing some subtleties in what you wrote in that book?
No, I don't think so. It's I don't think people have missed subtleties. It is what it is. It's an extremely abbreviated version of Mage, of Mage magic system, redesigned in order to allow you to invent your own rituals by giving guidelines on how many dots you should need in order to invent in order to cast certain rituals. So all of the rituals from the dot levels of the themes are designed from the existing rituals.
Mm-hmm.
In the Requiem core book, Circle of the Crone, and Lancia Sanctum.
Yeah.
So you can. The idea is that if you want to make a new ritual up on the fly, then you'd be able to look at it and say that your your acolyte had enough, because your acolyte knew this other ritual, which in the new system is defined as you having this theme at this level, then you can invent other comparable rituals. The combination of it then being so short in order to fit it into the book like that, and some of the things that some of the rituals can do, even in the core book, then mean that, I mean, there is a ritual in there that I forget which book it's in, but it was one of the ones that got used as a dot theme. I mean, people online, I've seen people say that, you know, that there's the ability to make ranged damage rituals. There is a ranged damage ritual already in the game line. It's a sanctified miracle.
Yes.
That causes damage at range. So yes, if you want to make a different ritual that causes damage at range, then you would need to be capable of casting that one, and then invent it. Yeah. Yes, it is open to abuse if you game it, but you know there are all manner of things in the storytelling system that are like that.
Yes,
and, you know, some of the proposed white rooms for it that I've seen are on the level of if you go on that level, if you go with making the game world as it would be if the rules were the physical laws of the game world, then Awakening mages would have eliminated all other. In fact, Mastergos mages would have eliminated all other supernatural beings by the medium of teleporting hand grenades a long time ago. And it just doesn't happen. In terms of power level, it's actually less. In terms of power level, there was actually a sanctified miracle in the core book, Vampire, that we took out. That we said, if you're using this system, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I think cause it just got annexed because it just doesn't fit into the themes, and it just seemed, I mean, that's something I had to, when I was messing around using the blood sorcery approach to revise the Cult of Mithras. It was like, that one actually has to be a few more dots now, and so you wouldn't learn that one as you go up the ranks of within the Cult of Mithras society. So
that one was written out because one of my instructions, Russell gave me in the outline what the themes were, and the list of exceptions.
Yes.
The list of blood magic can't do this. To which when I then went away and noted all of the extant rituals, I said that this sanctified miracle which causes somebody's body to explode into sunlight and fire if they cross the priest. Yeah, sure, write that out. So Russell has a game plan.
Yes.
For Vampire has a line developer. Russell knows what future books are going to be, and bear in mind that every single discipline is in the process of being rewritten at the moment. So in terms of power balance, it is in a different situation now than it will be this time next year.
Wow. And I think also another thing which people have obviously screamed bloody murder about is the fact that boo-hoo, the Circle of the Crone and Lancashire Sanctum now have these free-form magic rules, and it's not fair because I'm playing Ordo Dracul or Carthians or Invictus. And again, I think that comes from in my opinion, those reactions are, if you're playing it in it, you're gaming the system, because obviously blood sorcery means squat if you're going to get all your power, your gas supply cut off, or your your entire haven gets demolished or something.
Plus, as soon as any notable vampire, as soon as anybody that has any friends, even to the level
Yes.
that vampires have friends, spontaneously combusts somewhere deep in their haven, or
Yes.
have their vitae poisoned from afar, in a locked room with no obvious culprits, they're going to lynch the blood sorcerers.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Which is
Cool.
why in Mage, Mastergus don't go around hand grenade porting people, because
No.
it's obvious that it's them. It's a really stupid thing to do. But, yeah. So, yeah. I use it to... I use it as a elaborate and sometimes on the fly... as on the fly as it can be. If you're a Lankia Sanctum person, you can't really decide, like in round one of combat, you can't decide I'm going to miracle this guy's ass and then just up and do it, because the sacrifice has to be unique,
Appropriate.
for the miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about those little things, like, you have to have the appropriate sacrifices, or like the line of, like, you can't just make any old blood sorcery spell without the appropriate knowledge to back it up. So if you know the right rituals beforehand, and you go, well, I know that one, so if I did this and this based upon those, then you've got a new ritual. You just can't fabricate something out of nothing without any basis. And I think it's those which could be seen as purely story limitations. Well, they're valid limitations. They're what push you to play your character in a particular way, so they go off and go, well, if I want to do this, I need to learn a ritual like this, and I need to therefore study under a blood sorcerer that knows that ritual.
Well, that's what your theme dots are.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Broadly.
Yeah.
That's what your theme dots are broadly. Of course, the core mechanic of the of ritual disciplines, the actual discipline, had to remain the same as it is in the core book. Who knows if that'll stay the same?
Yeah. Another thing I was going to say, did you make mention that you've actually gone through quite a number of the blood sorcery rituals in numerous of the vampire source books and revised them with the new blood sorcery themes?
All of them.
You've done all of them. Will we ever see them reach the light of day? Well, light of day would be
I went through, like I say, when I got the gig and Russell told me what the themes were, I went through every ritual that had been published, figured out what its theme dots should be, or even if it should exist, and did it that way. Only Kruak and Theban Sorcery.
Oh yeah.
I didn't go into the others. I'd quite like to do Lithopedia, because I invented Lithopedia, but so it would be a thing. But I think I published. Somebody asked me back just after the book had come out. I did post up all the Kruak conversions from Circle of the Crone.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, because the bit in the book where it goes through all the rituals and miracles, the rites and miracles from the core book.
Yeah.
I do have them for the 2 Chronicle books.
Okay. Yeah, that's maybe a good, an interesting thing as well, is how the blood sorcery rules then work in relation to the Circle of the Crone and, say, dealing with spirits, because is there any guidelines on how that all meshes together? There's certain limitations on what blood sorcery can and cannot influence. And so...
Yeah, you can't go into the shadow with it.
You can't go into the shadow, but you can still happily summon things from the shadow with blood sorcery.
Well,
then.
if you're
using that version.
I mean, the shadow does not necessarily exist in Vampire the Requiem.
Yeah.
If you use a creation rite and you make a big shadowy, make a big wolf-shaped shadowy monster that follows you around and does your bidding. I mean, is that a spirit?
Okay, yeah, I get you. Cool.
Who knows? Yeah, here we go. Okay, right, so very rapid fire. Confidence in Adversity, Transmutation 1. Drops of Destiny, Divination 1. Fires of Inspiration, Transmutation 1 if it's just a +2. Technically it would be Transformation 3, which would mean it was much more powerful. Because the way the Fires of Inspiration write in the Circle of the Crane book works, it should really be Transformation 3, and it would be more powerful than it is in the book. So, Taste of Knowledge, Divination 1, really easy. Visage of the Crone, it has actually gone up a dot. It's 1 dot in the book, but it should be Transformation 2 in the new system. Sorry. Maiden Skin, Protection 2. Path of Thorns, Creation 2, Destruction 1. Soul's Work, Transmutation 2. Succulent Buboes, Transmutation 1. That one's actually gone down a dot. There you go. Wisdom of the Soul, Divination 1, and Transmutation, depending on what the benefit of the vision is. 2 if you want 9 again. Beloved Deodand is a bit of a strange one. It's Creation 4, Transmutation 1, because there's a miracle in the... there's a rite, in Blood Sorcery, which does exactly the same thing, but can be used at range, but doesn't work on vampires. So, yeah. Final Service of the Slave is Transmutation 3. Rain is Creation 3. Taste of Destiny is Divination 3. Tiamat's Offspring is Creation 3. Eye of the Norn is Divination 4, and I actually used it. I snuck it in and used it as one of the examples for what the dot levels of Divination should be.
Okay, yeah.
Font of Wisdom is Transmutation 4. Mask of Blood's Transmutation 4. Sacrifice of Odin ought to be a Threnody. Threnody, however you pronounce it. A Child from the Stones is Creation 5. As 1 is Creation 5 plus themes depending on what your sub-effect is, and they ought to be obvious. Crone's Renewal ought to be a Threnody, and Roving Hut is probably joining that Sanctified Miracle in 6 dot land. Yeah, so it should be really easy to convert the existing existing rites and miracles and examples of other stranger blood sorceries like Gilded Cage and Lethargia and such. It ought to be. I mean, the themes are fairly broad, and you ought to be able to see where you should pin things. Yeah. As for spirits, yes, you can't go into the shadow using the sorcery there, but it's never been entirely clear if the spirits that Circle of Crone deals with are from the shadow or something else entirely.
Okay.
The Strix are from the shadow.
Okay.
Cool.
Dave and Chris, do you feel there's any merit to kind of mixing the original ritual-based and dot-based, like Theban sorcery and Kruak, with the newer blood sorcery, maybe giving the rituals to more laymen, and then having higher-level vampires in say, the Lycaeus Sanctum, having the actual blood sorcery? Do you think that's something to do in your Chronicles?
Ooh.
So, like, letting vampires buy the learned ritual, but keeping the full blood sorcery system for high up members of the Covenant.
Exactly.
That could be really cool. Yeah. One of the things that I was kind of bummed out about when Mage the Awakening was first released was I wanted Sleepwalkers to be able to learn rotes.
Ah, yeah.
Okay.
If they were taught them by a mage, like by a rote as a merit, by a single rote as a merit.
So kind of like in Second Sight then, because they're all merits in there, aren't they? Any of their spells? I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
So definitely that could really work actually. Your low end people, your status 1 acolytes and sanctified could be taught individual miracles, but not, and they could be taught individual rites and miracles, but not given access to, not given the proper training that they need to be able to invent their own.
Yep, precisely. Yeah, I think it could be a cool idea. And actually, what you brought up about teaching sleepwalkers rotes, that's pretty cool. I wonder if in Old World of Darkness, if they had anything about sorcerers being able to learn rotes or something like that. Because there's, of course, the hedge magicians with their static magic. And then you had the true magicians. Yeah. But their magic was supposed to work differently. Like, they were... Like, the sorcerers did... they kind of found, like, loopholes in reality, basically, which they could just keep doing to cast a spell.
Yeah, and the rules for linear mages changed between 2nd edition and revised, because it was a World of Darkness core, what would now be a blue book. You know, it was just a any game source book. It was just called World of Darkness Sorcerer. But then in the revised era, it was a mage supplement. Quite good mage supplement, if I remember correctly. But linear mages were never really used as much in Ascension as they maybe should have been. And, because they were limited to the one book. But Awakening has just the same problem in that, Proximi are nowhere near as important in the books as they should be. Just as a consequence of the way the games are published.
Yeah, maybe you should do something about that.
Well, maybe. I know what I'd call the Mage Chronicles. I won't say. But I know what I'd call it. I have an outline for it.
I think that brings us naturally on to Left-Hand Path, then. If we're going to be talking about Mage. Wow, that's all I can say about that book. Wow, there's a lot in there. There's a lot in there to use, and I think I'm slowly... Someone asked me, like, what would be the best few books to have for Mage for Mage's Awakening to run it, and I was like, well, I think that one, and I think Summoners, and Book of Spirits, and maybe and I think one or two others, but Left-Hand Path is definitely in that list of must-have buys for Mage now.
Motives for bad mages.
Yes, motives for bad mages and stories about bad mages and why they become bad or mad or truly downright.
Dangerous to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Left-Hand Path was early this year, after Imperial Mysteries come out. Malcolm and I were asked, do you have any further ideas? Just by chance, we had a full outline ready to go, which we'd been kicking about for about a month. And it was probably the fastest acceptance of a book that I've ever seen. And it wasn't really a smooth ride writing it. Various family troubles delayed it a bit, because it was meant to come out on Halloween and it came out mid-November.
Yeah.
Now? Yeah. Just all manner of things that were missing from the game line so far. Like, the Tremere were a joke that nobody used compared to the emphasis that the core book puts on them. Because, their attainments were useless. And being a Tremere was a chumps game compared to all the other horrible forms of immortality that were dotted around the order books and things. Like my personal favourite, the good old steel body rope from Free Council. The MAD had never been mentioned since the core book. They'd just gone. They were Awakening's version of the Zigraugla. that's one for the old school Mage, the Ascension fans, the Zig Raglar. But the Mad had never been used. They were Mages, they were new Mages, Marauders, and they got completely dropped in the game line. The Celesti kind of needed a look at them. They'd had a bit of Tome of the Mysteries, just like Archmages had had a bit of Tome of the Mysteries. In fact, I think it was in the same chapter. One of the things that people kept on asking for was a look at mages that weren't in the orders. So, what happened to the barbarian mages that then became the nameless orders? Did everybody really join the Free Council? And we didn't think that there was ever likely to be a full-sized apostate book, so we thought we'd stick them in as a chapter, and that ended up being the most fun one to write. Everybody has their own personal favourites. The Tremere quarter of the book seems to be going down really well.
Oh yeah, there's so much just crazy plot hooks in there galore. It's great.
I think the Apostates and Heretics one is my favourite. I think the Celestia chapter is Malcolm's favourite. Matt McFarlane really liked the Mad. He started using a Mad Mage as the antagonist in one of his.
I think the Mad in Mage the Awakening really, to me, it had more of an impact than, say, when you read about the Mad in the Marauders in Mage the Ascension. I think the Mad in Awakening, that section just was really strong and really gave you a good impression of what it means to be these insane mages and really why they're insane. It's not something that can be just treated with, a bit of a few drugs and someone listening to your issues about your mother and your father. It's more like it really did read really well. And again, it's like I'm currently trying to finish writing my Mage setting up for Manchester, so it goes side by side with my vampire stuff. And so obviously I'm now going back through everything I've written and gone, I think I could fit a Celesti in there now I know a lot more about how they work, and I think that could be a mad person, and just kind of retconning a few things and putting it in there.
The problem I always had with the Marauders was that they were funny.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue. They were always kind of a bit.
There were a couple of horrific Marauders, but some of the sample Marauders were really quite horrible. What had happened to them, but the majority of Marauders were amusing. And from Secret Agent John Courage on down.
Yeah. Some of the attainments on the Celesti as well, I was just reading through and was like, oh, that's horrible. The whole mitigating paradox and just really, going, I don't want this paradox. I think I'll give it to you. Yes, you can have it. And of course, I think it shows how important that chapter was to have in there, because obviously it then can make use of the things referenced in Summoners to do with the Gold Moth and abyssal entities, and so it really kind of bookended and updated the Celesti into a really, truly usable bunch of bad guys. Because now you haven't just got the Celesti, you've got everything that counts as these abyssal worshipping foul mages.
The Celesti chapter was, I don't know how Malcolm did it, drawing it together from so many different places, but I mean the different ways of tainting your spells from Tome of the Mystery, the different classifications of abyssal creatures are from Summoners and Imperial Mysteries, stuck together, and the old man is from Astral Realms.
Yeah.
And, I love the old man.
I'm actually reading Astral Realms right now because I've never got around to reading it. So I was like, I read Left Hand Path, and I was like, shit, I need to read Astral Realms now. And you get the reference to the Prince of a Thousand Leaves as well. So he gets a shout out. He hasn't been around since Boston Unveiled, so it was cool to see him in there.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very short, but it was talking about the type of abyssal entities that actually have names and are known about. And so, what's your what would you say is your favourite legacy introduced in that book? 'Cause there's a few at the back which different, and there's a few throughout the book, so it doesn't even have to be one that's got full attainments for it. One that was merely mentioned, or maybe one that you want to write that had a short sentence and deserves more.
I think the Tamers of Blood deserve to have a full write-up soon. They were mentioned in Legacies the Ancient. They've had their attainment described, but wasn't room to do another full page. There wasn't room to do another full Legacy spread, which is unfortunate. I quite wanted to do them because they're not technically left-handed. They might be left-handed. It's they're teetering on the knife's edge. They invented their attainments to achieve a specific goal. It's just that if you were of low moral standards, you could also use their attainments to royally screw with Mage society as a whole.
Brilliant.
So everybody else looks at them kind of funny, and they're not allowed to play in the free council like the other elemental tamers. I always thought that they should get a proper write-up. I really like Cloud Infinite as well. The first left-handed legacy for the free council, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. They're great. Just the idea behind them is great. The using other people as parallel processors in order to free up your own mental time is just...
I can really appreciate that from my line of actual real world work. I can totally appreciate that. It's like, yes. I mean, because I've always been really big with, like, you know, I when I played Mage the Essential, when I ran it, and when I played in it, Virtual Adepts were my thing. And so when Mage the Awakening came out, I think, Mike, I think on Shadow and Essence, if you check the date, if you do a search for zero coders, they're pretty much written up. I think I wrote them up in a month or two after Mage came out, and they were my stab at doing Virtual Adepts as a free council legacy. And so, yeah, to see Cloud Infinite is like the almost like, for me, the complete dark side of what I like about Virtual Adepts. Awesome. Mike, shall we go through the questions that we've been sent in?
I think we should.
I've said too much stuff.
All right, so let's start off with the first question, and we're going to be changing this a tad bit, unless Dave is feeling exceptionally brave. So Ken asks, originally he asked, how do you make the technocracy scary when, in the last 10 years, in the post-9/11 society, the New World Order has basically won with all of their increased security, lots of closed-circuit televisions, and that sort of thing. So, Dave, you can feel free to answer that. Or, how do you feel in Mage the Awakening? How has the Free Council reacted to many of their innovations and that sort of thing being taken and used against the sleepers, really.
I imagine the Free Council's reaction is about the same as the Virtual Adept's reaction would be in Ascension. And bear in mind that from the New World Order's point of view, they have totally won. Although I don't think they'd be quite so happy about all of the religious extremism that's been going on, as you maybe might think they would be. I think they'd be really quite happy with all the blaming of the other that's gone on in Western society. People turning on minorities and convincing themselves that their own culture is just fine. It's all of these other people who hate our freedom that need to die by drone strike. It's a very New World Order thing, and but other things, like are they really winning with the internet? Or are they fighting desperate rearguard action against the virtual adepts?
I imagine that it's going to be really interesting to see that section written for Mage 20, because whatever the state of the digital web is, I imagine it's turned into my vision of it would be it's some massive kind of ongoing giant war game almost, because there's
pictures everywhere.
Cat pictures everywhere, yes. Literally, yeah. You can all. Oh wow, that's such a crazy image I just had. Is a virtual adept needing to put up a defensive a firewall or something up against an NWO agent, and it just takes the form of a giant cat picture, and that's his giant shield in the digital web.
Master, we need to get 5 cabals together. They're preparing to annex Tumblr. The
technocracy Zuckerberg is in the NWO's pocket.
Yeah.
Or Google Plus, any of social networks. Yeah, NWO's thing. I mean, the NWO must really love the United Kingdom as well. Like per head, the amount of CCTV cameras is ridiculous, and they mostly love the Chinese Great Firewall. So, or they may hate it. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good section.
Yeah. In terms of Awakening, the Free Council aren't really the Free Council are the champions of the internet and such, but only as part of their role as the Mage champions of all sleeper culture and advancement. While the other parts of that battle line are the 2 seer ministries who are thorns in their side. Well, 3 if you count Mammon. You've got Panopticon, who are the servants of the Exarch of Space, who want to keep the human population of the world imprisoned within their own minds and distracted from awakening by the fear that they are being watched. So Panopticon doesn't necessarily work on actually surveying people, but on just on the idea that people the paranoid idea that you can't do something because other people will see you do it. That's what Panopticon are trying to engender, and they are in the ascendancy. Panopticon have come up out of nowhere and are now a greater ministry, while the 2 Chancellor ministries, of the servants of the Exarch of Matter, are Mammon, who want to distract the human population by making them focus on their toys, like never mind the third world, have a flat screen. And Pantechnicon, who are the ones that work on the basis of trying to make society reliant on technology, which they then control. So, not just addicting people to new technologies, but also making sure that almost nobody has the ability to do it. So, I think the rise in the rise in machines that you cannot program yourself. Apple products are very Pantechnicon.
Yes. Yeah.
And I say that as an iPad owner here. EULAs, programs that you anything where you buy a license to use a program, you don't buy the program. You buy a license to be allowed to use something. You don't buy the actual thing. It's all very Pantechnicon, and Free Council.
Pantechnicon must love malware then, and all that type of stuff. No, they must like it because it forces people to want to buy. It makes people fear stuff, fear technology not working. It makes them buy licenses for stuff that they really don't need if they paid attention to what the hell they were doing. Like, don't click the link to the porn. It's interesting what you said about the technocracy's reaction to the rise of religious extremism, because it really shows how different the technocracy is to the Seers of the Throne. Because the Seers of the Throne,
love it
because you've got the Paternoster. Yeah, you've got the who are just like, we want religious extremism because we want all the religions that venerate their own thing and are attached to it, but hate everything else, rather than all binding together into this one thing, which is that you can be greater than what you are. And for the technocracy, I think religious extremism is possibly you could almost say it could be the paradox to them almost winning on the technology. The paradox that is the religious extremism.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It depends on which edition of Ascension you're talking about, and which book you're talking about. Because Ascension books are all written from the perspective of the subject. But whether it's the who's responsible for mega churches, is it Syndicate or is it Celestial Chorus, or is it neither of them? And,
is it Nefandi?
Yeah.
That would be bad. Cool.
Yeah. These are open questions for your storytellers to answer.
One weird thing with Ascension that I remember is that by the modern times, the Ali Battini, the Muslim mages, basically, there's not really any of them. There's just a couple hanging around in small pockets in the Middle East, kind of hiding out. They're no longer a major tradition. But Islam is like the fastest growing religion overall. It's always been, just struck me as very strange, an odd choice by the writers.
Depends what studies you do as well. I think I read something that kind of like paganism and Wicca and that kind of thing, and earth-centered religions are also some of the fastest growing in like the UK and Europe. So it's all this reaction to again, it's like it's all reactionary to the world around you. So
weren't the Battani kind of minor in terms of Islamic sects? I thought the Battani were
there was one,
either Sunni or Shiite. They were most modern Muslims would look at them would look at Battani beliefs kind of strangely.
Yeah, I think Battani are actually closer to Zoroastrianism, aren't they not? With
no, that's the Taftani.
Oh, that's Taftani, is it? Okay.
It's the Taftani who, the last time we saw the Taftani in Mage the Ascension, which gives you an idea of how long ago it's been, were busily engaged with the Taliban because they were based largely in Afghanistan.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Jesus Christ, Mage has got some major ground to cover since it was last out. Wow. Next question.
whilst we all ponder on
Yeah.
that, what a hard
Yeah.
job the guys have got. Let's move on.
Sure thing. So, keeping on the Mage track, Dave, you bravely agreed to answer this with your copy of Guide to the Traditions. Paul asks us how to effectively play a multi-tradition mage, and in particular the effect it could have on Paradigm.
Okay, by Paul, if you're listening to this, we weren't entirely sure. We have assumed that you've been talking about the factions in Guide to the Traditions that are members of more than one tradition. So people like the Order of Saint Albertus, who are members of both the Order of Hermes and the Celestial Chorus. I actually had a player in a multi-tradition group back in the day. He was a member of the traditions faction called the Linguists, who are a hermetic virtual adept group. And it's really like playing any other tradition mage, really. I mean, a House Fortunae hermetic is going to have a slightly different paradigm to a House Bonasagius one, or indeed a House Thig one will have a greatly different paradigm to them. And being a linguist just means that you have another paradigm, which then politically in the game it means that you don't quite fit into one of the 9 traditions. So for me, it's not really an effect that it has on your paradigm. It's more a way that the big effect is how you then fit into mage society, because you don't meet one of the boxes that were designed back in the Renaissance. And so you're perpetually in 2 camps, and very old traditional masters would treat you with a combination of curiosity and disdain, depending on the master. So, yeah, I mean, it's. I think they're really cool. They were one of the more interesting parts of Ascension's setting, and they're a consequence of the way that hundreds of small mage factions were hammered into 9 big groups, and the fallout of that. Somebody just has to be the round peg. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that covers that quite well. Yeah. Mike, we have quite a few questions from our competition winner, Martin.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start?
Well, let's keep on Mage for just a little bit longer with this one question. So, Martin asks, and by the way, Martin is, hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Ephraim on the White Wolf forums. So if you see that username, you know who it is.
Okay.
And he asks, do you think that we will see a player's guide for Mage the Awakening, and is there some way that we can coerce you to write it?
It's called Tome of the Mysteries, and you can get it for Drive-Thru RPG. But no, actually, that's pretty much it. The reason that Mage didn't get a book like The Blood and the Rage, which were the equivalents for Vampire and Werewolf, was that Tome of the Mysteries is kind of it. That's that covers most of what we would what we would have put in a player's guide. It's got the bit in it about what your powers feel like to use.
Yeah.
It's got the fiddly bits like the embodied rotes and tattoo magic and awakening alchemy and things in them. It's got the taster for art mages, the taster for abyssal magic, that kind of thing. So yeah, that really is the player's guide. Like I say, everybody who's been working on the Chronicle books, the God Machine Chronicles, and the Strix Chronicles, as it's currently called, we all like to do Forsaken, Mage, and who knows what else Chronicle books. It just depends on how well God Machine and Strix do. But I would be there like a shot.
Cool.
They won't have to coerce me to write it. They never have to coerce me to write an Awakening book. In fact, they're normally my idea nowadays. I would totally. I'd write anything Rich asked me to if it was for the blue books. I think that answers that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Martin also was asking about the God Machine Chronicles. And Dave, right before the show, he revealed that while David Hill has been kind of the face talking about merits and flaws and those kind of rewrites on the White Wolf forums, both you and Stu Wilson are writing part of the God Machine Chronicles and reworking some cool stuff.
Lots of people are writing the God Machine Chronicles. It's actually got a very large team on it. However, David, Stu, and I have been the three people doing the. You've read the blurb for the God Machine Chronicles, right? I think I've got.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So yeah, here we go. The God Machine Chronicle combines both setting and rules info to create a default chronicle for the world of darkness that still allows the sandbox play that the WoD is known for. The Chronicle focuses on the legends of the God Machine that first captivated readers' interest in the WoD core book, and presents a world darkened by its presence. The general history and specific rules changes in this Chronicle set the stage for the release of Demon the Brrrr in August. Yeah. There's in the book there are the rules updates for the New World of Darkness are included in the God Machine Chronicles. The tweaks to the game engine that after 8 years have become apparent. So it's a chance to even if people don't use the actual chronicle of the God Machine Chronicles, it's a chance to update the rules for the World of Darkness. And Strix Chronicles is going to do the same thing for Vampire. But I mean, we've had playtest threads in the White Wolf forums previewing early versions of some of the changes. I think Russell Bailey was kicking around some of the ideas for the physical disciplines of Vampire, which, in order to make that playtest effective, he had to reveal what some of the changes to the combat rules in God Machine are going to be. And you can go find out if you like. And my learned ill colleague, David Hill, was asking what merits people liked or did not like or would want to see included. And there are a whole lot of updates coming. I think David Hill did actually put on. I believe David Hill put an idea, an early version of social rules up as well.
Okay.
Maybe. None of my parts have been. None of my parts have been spoiled. None of my parts have had to be spoiled. So they haven't been. Well, kind of. part of the rules updates is that actually, yeah, this bit has come out. Part of the rules updates is that spirit rules are going into it, and getting an update for the first time since they were originally brought in Werewolf, and ghosts are going to use the spirit rules. With minor changes for the differences in them, but there are I can't really talk about most of the changes to the spirit rules because they rely on other things that are still secret as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's all a big thing about there are changes to lots of things, lots and lots of things. Your 9 attributes and your skills will remain the same. Many things are getting rules updates. It's really quite exciting to see. I mean, I've converted my Mage Chronicle over to it already as part of the playtesting, and my players really love it. So I hope that people.
Awesome.
I was going to just ask, so you said you've already converted over.
Yeah.
Do you think just to, I don't know, this is maybe a reassuring thing for people to know. Did you need to rejig the character sheets to account for the new rules updates much? Like just to make the characters still do what they're still capable of doing? Is it that big a change, or is it just really how difficult is it to go from here's World of Darkness, here's World of Darkness God Machine? Do character sheets need to be messed around with a little or a lot to make a character still play as they did play? I guess that's really hard to say when you haven't even got the rules out yet. Yeah.
Merits.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, seeing what the new merits are, seeing where your character's merit might have changed rules or gone, and then seeing what the new merits that you would have bought if you'd known about them are. That kind of thing.
Exactly. Okay.
It honestly didn't take me very long. It didn't take my group very long at all. It was mostly just running down the list of new merits and going, yeah, I should have that. Yeah, don't worry about
it. All right, thanks. That's good to know. Awesome. And then Martin gives us one final question, and that is, Dave, if you could create your own video game, what would it be about?
I have no idea. I really don't. No idea. No clue. Sorry. Completely gone. I've completely blanked on that one. Sorry, Martin, I read your question an hour ago and promised to have a good think about it, but no, it's gone. No.
Okay.
Well, how would you do a Mage the Awakening game?
I don't think it'd work. As a computer game. As a video game, I'd be up for it, but I don't think it would work particularly well. Yeah. I think in terms of video games, for Onyx Path, the World of Darkness MMO is really going to cover it. Mm-hmm. Although, maybe Heart of Gaia will come out.
I don't think so.
Heart of Gaia will come out. No, I'm not really I play video games, not as much as I would like, but I do play them. But I'm really not that way inclined creatively. I would probably have more obscurity if I was, but it's never really been anything that I've really sat down and had a good think about.
Yeah, I think Mage the Awakening will be, I think when CCP reaches that point, that will be interesting how they they deal with that one, because, well, Mage is just open to doing everything, so I don't know how you would even begin to accommodate half of it in an MMO. But we shall see. Someone might think of something very clever.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm sure they have these things in hand. If indeed mages make it to the MMO.
Yeah.
You know, the innumerable problems with them, which everybody knows, might mean that they can't be converted. I don't know.
All right, so that wraps up all the listener questions. Do we have anything else to discuss before we move on to the closing?
Not that I can think of. I think we've covered quite a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. Hey guys, I got Orpheus.
Cool. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Find some players that don't know the plot and run it for them.
All right. I'll see if I can do that. I don't think it was widely played, Orpheus. Because it came out in like 2003, just before the end of the World of Darkness, so... End of the Old World, I should say. So I'm not sure if too many people played it or picked it up.
I've played it a little. It was kind of our go-to game for when our normal Chronicle wasn't running. So when we had an off night with people being missing, because of course it's self-contained, so you've already got missions available to run.
Right. So you're kind of running it like a Shadowrun game, that kind of setup.
Yeah, kind of a more one-shot kind of approach, but still
That's
strung
cool.
them together.
That's really cool. I like that. Totally digging that. Yeah, I've always really struggled with coming up with the one-shots in the World of Darkness, because it's such a spanning, long-winded story kind of game. I've always found that one-shots were a little tough, especially with Vampire.
Oh yeah, I think with Vampire one-shots are really difficult, and I would say for really quite a few of them. I think the nice thing about New World of Darkness is the default World of Darkness as Immortals, and even Hunter really, are just great for one-shots. I mean, you can just pull any idea from any horror movie or slasher film or any of the secret frequency crap we cover, and you just go, here's a story, run it.
Good stuff. All right, cool. Dave, do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to promote other than the ones that you've already mentioned here?
I think we've covered my output for... we've talked about everything that I've worked on for the last year now. So really, no, I haven't had time to do anything else. Or sleep. Sleep. No. The only things I have to ask people to buy are Left Hand Path and the God Machine anthology. Buy and review. Review it on drive-thru. It does help, I'm told.
Certainly does.
And thank you for your review.
It's great. I really like Left Hand Path. I think everyone should buy it. Everyone should buy Blood Sorcery. Yeah, well, everyone that's playing Vampire should buy Blood Sorcery anyway.
As soon as everyone can buy Mummy, you should definitely buy Mummy.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right, Dave, do you have a website or a place, a Twitter account, somewhere that people can get in contact with you if they have any questions about the stuff you've done?
I have a Twitter account. I have a website that is almost never updated. My email is my forum accounts on RPGNet and the White Wolf forums are really easy to find. If anybody has any questions, then they can direct them to me there, because I do read them, and I try to respond to them. So, yeah, better that than send a message to the blog website that I haven't updated since August.
Cool, good stuff. And if anyone wants to get in contact with Darker Days Radio, you can check out our Facebook page, of course, facebook.com/darkerdaysradio, or you can send us an email over at darkerdaysradio@gmail.com, and be sure to give us some cool feedback, because we're definitely going to be giving out some PDF copies in the near future of something.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris, anything else that we need to pimp?
I can't think of. I'm gonna do a shout out for another podcast that I just started listening to because it's quite great. Ken and Robin talk about stuff because
Yes.
I really like their consulting occultist section. That they just have that and various other parts, and they've written on stuff like Trail of Cthulhu and Knights Black Agents. So again, they've worked on games which have similar thematic elements to World of Darkness. So, and it's a proper information-rich podcast, and so worth listening to.
All right, cool. And of course, we have our Preposterous page, which has a plethora of good stuff, live discussion. We finally have been talking about the World of Darkness instead of Games Workshop.
Or Iron Kingdom or something. Yeah.
Yep.
Also, my gaming Preposterous, I think. No, I cross-post that to the Darker Days one, so I've got my actual play notes from Vampire that go up every so often. So
Yep.
I've got something to write up for that one already. I'm well behind on writing up sessions. Yeah, I think that covers it.
Outstanding. All right, Dave, I'd really like to thank you for being able to make it. Really appreciate the excellent interview and all the good information about what you've been doing lately.
Not a problem.
It's been excellent to talk to you about all of that goodness. I think that's the end of the show.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. I think I can summon up the advertising blurb so that I can remind myself what I'm allowed to actually say. Feel free to cut this bit or put some spooky music over it.
Speaking of spooky music, Mike, I like the new, the one that you used, that new one. Was it that Malleus gave us?
Yeah, it's a
It was
really good
wicked.
one.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to use that regularly. It's just going to be for like the special bonus secret frequencies. Unless you really want to switch, which we could do.
I kind of like it more. Or we can always keep it for New Year.
Yeah. Maybe next season.